Anyone remember what we discussed in the last class? Everything. Which portion we were discussing? You can in chat also.
Last class we are done with modeling aggression and attitudes.
Aggression modeling.
Functions of attitudes.
We discussed the modeling and different aspects of modeling, or how it affects aggressive behavior, obedience, and everything. So in this class, we will be, and we also discussed about attitude and how attitude, what is attitude, components of attitude, how attitude can be formed. So all those things we have discussed, and in this class, we will be discussing two chapters. The first one is theories of attitude change, that we will be looking how attitudes are or attitudes can be changed or manipulated or transformation in existing attitude. So we know that attitude have three components, which is affective component that have emotional aspects, and another one is cognitive component, which have information, and that information creates a certain kind of beliefs. So mainly the belief component, and behavioral aspects, which is the action part, the tendency to do, the tendency to enact our internal urges or tendencies. So attitude have three components. So it is a kind of amalgamation of emotional, behavioral, and cognitive aspects. So in one or other aspects, either one of these three factors or components, it can be emotional or behavioral or cognitive. If there is any kind of inconsistency happens or any kind of changes happens, there will be a disturbances in the existence of attitude, a particular attitude. So we know attitude is a particular kind of positive or negative or word or disfavored or healthy or unhealthy perception, feelings, ideology, something. So is it visible, my PPT? Someone have to give me a response.
Yes,
Yes,
Yes.
it's visible.
Because I'm not seeing you, only you people are seeing me, so I'm not getting any kind of feedback. So some kind of verbal response is will be appreciated. So theories of attitude change, that is what we are going to discuss today. So we will discuss four different kind of theories, and all these theories have a common factor, that is consistency. Okay, so we call these are consistency theories in a way, because these all talking about a kind of balance or consistency in our attitude, how the attitude is existing. So inconsistency between attitudes and action. So emotion and the cognitive aspect is always a non-visible part. Emotion is only visible when we express it. If we show a kind of facial expression or bodily changes, then only we will identify. Otherwise, we won't be able to know that this person. We can assume, but we won't get the evidence that the person is having this particular kind of emotion until and unless that person is expressing that emotion. So emotion and cognitive aspect is somewhat abstract, which is existing within the person, and the action is the observable. We can see that. So if there is any inconsistency between attitudes and action, so that kind of inconsistency will lead to a kind of conflict, because attitude is a very important psychological or social psychological phenomena that we need to it is very inevitable for like, if we don't have a attitude, different kinds of attitude, whether it is good or bad, such attitude help us to navigate and explore more about social life and even ourselves. So the inconsistency in the attitude will lead to stress, immense stress. So to overcome that stress, they will get into different kind of adaptive behaviors. So here we are looking how attitude can be challenged, or how attitude can be stable, or how attitude can be exist in a balanced way, or what are the things that can challenge the the balance or consistency of an attitude. So first theory that we are discussing is Heider's balance theory. So it was proposed by Fritz Heider in 1958, and later Rosenberg and Abelson elaborated the theory in 1960. So basically, the theory is known the name of Fritz Heider. So it's known as Heider's balance theory. So in Heider's balance theory, there is three important uh, components are there. Person, which we will denote with P, and there is other person, which is O, and then there is environment, X. Sometimes that environment can be a third person. The original concept, it was environment. So we will look each aspect. So Haider actually proposed two states. One is balanced state and another one is imbalanced state. So in the balanced state, there is four different kind of balanced state can be existed, or different ways of balanced attitude that we can propose or hypothetically we can assume. So how he gave the explanation is, so the plus sign here denote liking, and the negative sign denote not liking or not interested, or they are not, they don't like that. Okay. So the first balanced state, 1A, is a person is there, the individual, the person itself, and the other person, one more person, and the environment. So this is a social psychology. So there should be a social settings. So the existence of another person is inevitable. So if it's purely the psychological aspects, there will be only the person. We will go into the person's psychological processes. So here it is social situation. So there is other person, there is environment. So it is a social context. So here the person is having a liking towards the other person and also liking towards the environment, and the other person is also have a liking towards the X. So as we can know, we can see that all these relations are in a positive way, so it is completely balanced. So the another one is 1B, which is again a person is having a positive relationship with O and vice versa. Here it is okay, person and other person, and both of them is having a dislike towards the environment. So this because of this liking and because of the equal not liking towards the environment will create a balanced state. And then there is the third scenario. In the third scenario, again, the person is not interested in the other person, and the person is not interested or not liking the environment. So the person, both states are fine. Here, the other person likes the environment. So the interaction between them is fine. Here, both is fine, negative state. So the person is okay. The person's attitude towards both is okay only. And another context, a person and the other person is not liking situation, and the other person also don't like the situation, like the environment, but the person like the environment. So the person and the environment is having a coexist position, but the person and other person and other person and the environment, it is actually X. There is a typing error. Other person, the other environment is not like me. So here there is a with the environment, the person is fine. So it is in a good way. So this three, there can be a balanced state according to Fritz Herd. There can be a balanced state in these four conditions, and he proposed four different kind of unbalanced state, which is the person and the other person. A person is liking the other person, the person is liking the environment, but the other person is not liking the environment. So there can be a, because the one person's attitude toward the environment is good and another one is not liking, but they are existing in a same environment. Now that can create an attitude because this person is having negative, positive, and this person is having negative attitude. So there can be a, even there is positive, but can be an imbalanced state towards the X, can be existing. And again, another possibility of imbalanced state is the person is having not liking towards the other person, but both of them like the environment. Because of this conflict between the person and the other person, again, there can be an imbalanced state of attitude. Third possibility either proposing is the person having a positive liking towards the other person, and the other person is also having a positive liking towards the environment, but the person don't like the environment. So the environment means both of them are existing in the same environment. So that can create another imbalanced state. And here all of them are in the negative aspect. So obviously there is an imbalance there. This was what Haidar introduced in the initially, but later there was a lot of criticism came because if this environment was replaced with the person, then there will be this hypothesis won't actually work well if we replace the environment with a person, because environment can't react. The person can action and the person can perceive the reaction. Other person can react and also the other person can receive the observe the reaction. But environment is a non-living kind of object which can only receive the things, but it can't give any kind of immediate responses. So it kind of a that kind of aspects. But if the environment is replaced with a person, which is a living organism, who can uh, have an action and consequences and receive those consequences and everything, then this Hader's balance theory can't explain such state. So there are a lot of criticism related to Hader's balance theory. So it was an very early theory, very early theory. So this is what Hader's balance theory. You need to go through the each figure. You may need to write down to understand. Just make it clear that P is person, O is the other person, and X is the environment. And plus sign is liking, and minus sign is not liking. So that interplay between liking and non-liking between the person, other person, and environment create the balanced and imbalanced state. And this is a hypothetical position which is proposed by Fritz Heider in the early time. Now we will look most widely used theory. We use till we use even now, even in the future also we will be using Festinger's cognitive dissonance theory. It's a very famous theory. It's very famous theory, and we use cognitive dissonance theory in different contexts, in clinical context, in training context, educational context, in all kind of contexts. We will be using cognitive dissonance theory. So basically, cognitive dissonance refers to a situation involving conflicting attitudes, beliefs, or behavior. Similarly, there is a conflicting the situation, and in that when that situation comes, there is a conflict between the attitude, the belief that hold that attitude, and the action which is accompanied with that particular attitude and belief. So dissonance is again there is resonance and dissonance, which we use in physics also. But here the dissonance, the word meaning, it's a psychological term here. Dissonance is a negative drive state which occurs whenever an individual holds two or more cognition. So cognition means ideas, beliefs, attitude. So belief also are different kind of ideas or attitudes created by different kind of beliefs and ideas, which are psychologically inconsistent. So dissonance is a negative drive state which occurs whenever an individual holds two or more cognition which are psychologically inconsistent. It is psychological, it is inside. Okay. So there will be a existence of more than two, at least two or more than two. At least there should be two, can be two. So the person will be confused to either accept it or reject it. So that is what cognitive dissonance says. For example, for a smoker or a person who drinks alcohol, they know that smoking and having alcohol leads to different kinds of health issues. But it is not that strong because that information is very less and everyone is using a lot of it. But when we get very much reliable information from a reliable source with a reliable evidence, which create a lot of it. So that strong verified information from a verified authority, a lot of things are there. So that existence of that attitude towards unhealthy behavior, which can be smoking or alcohol, will create a cognitive dissonance in the person's mind, which means the person will be in a confused dilemma state that whether I want to do it or not, whether I should continue or not. So decision making. The decision making is the one context that a person engage or a person get into the state of cognitive dissonance. Whenever a person has to take a decision, the person has to go either one or the other way. Or they have to go with some kind of decisions they have to do. So they have to omit something and they have to accept something. So decision making process, cognitive dissonance happens. Forced compliance. So forced compliance, we know that what is compliance when we request something or by asking, not like other commanding, we are making them to do. So forced compliance, again, it's not obedience, because in obedience there is an authoritarian figure which will take the responsibility. Okay. But here compliance is more of they are doing because of a request or something. Okay. So forced compliance, they actually don't want to do privately. They don't want to do, but because of that request, they are doing it, which is public. So there will be a conflicting things happens inside, psychologically inside. They are not interested. They don't want to do that particular thing. But because of that request, they are forced to do. So it is a request. You can say no also. We can say no also, but we didn't say no. So the responsibility will be ours. So the action has the responsibility. So inside we won't be do we will never do that, or we don't want to do that, but we did that. So the contradiction between the action and the inside attitude, that will lead to cognitive dissonance, or that can create cognitive dissonance. Investment or justification of effort. So when people lose something, or when they find it is not that worth it, after putting a lot of effort to achieving that, they need to justify that there will be a cognitive dissonance happens again there, because it is something related to self. They did a lot of effort into it, but that much effort wasn't needed for that particular thing. Or that thing, it is not that we failed. It is not about that. It is not in that kind of situation. Even sometimes, for example, when the relationship break, when they break up, not in adolescent stage, mostly in adolescent, the early adult stage, when they have this romantic relationship breakup, they they will they will be having a huge conflict between that. I put a lot of effort on that relationship, and whether was it worth it or not? Am I a fool? Such things happen. So that is happening because the cognitive dissonance is actually happening. That attitude have a strong impact because of certain behavioral, emotional, and cognitive processes. So decision making, forced compliance, investments, or justification of effort, justification of investment. So in these three contexts, cognitive dissonance happens, and uh, other context also. When we learn new things, when we grow up, the earlier cultural, social norms that we have learned, and because of such cultural and social norms, we will be having a certain attitude towards it. For example, in our early childhood, we were having a negative attitude towards transgender people. We were scared and we never interact with them. We were having a kind of dehumanizing attitude towards. But after a long process through the education, through different kind of discourses and exposure, now we know what are they, and like we are understanding them more. Now our attitudes have changed. We don't have that kind of scary or like no such kind of thing. We know that they are human beings with different kind of identities and different kind of human. So through the experience, the exposures, our attitude change, and every attitude change will go through the process of cognitive resonance. So cognitive resonance theory is very important and it is very uh, it have a significance even in this contemporary social psychological phenomena. Anything, even in the social media, technological, virtual social world, even in those areas also we can use cognitive dissonance theory. Clear? Positive theory, balance theory, and cognitive dissonance theory. Any doubt? The questions?
No doubts.
Okay. So next we will be discussing two theories, which is very small theories, and these two theories we have discussed earlier also. So the first one is Bohm self-perception theory. It was proposed by Dal Bohm. We actually discussed this theory in our offline social psychology classes. So self-perception theory again, the theory proposed in a way that individuals come to know their own attitudes, emotions, and internal states by inferring them. Inferring means taking, collecting data and making a meaningful data, making the data meaningful structure. That is what inferring, the process. So state by inferring them from observation of their own behavior and circumstances in which they occur. So we observe our emotions, our thoughts, our behavior, and we change our attitudes. For example, we may say that I don't like classical music or Carnatic music, but accidentally we went and ended up in a classical music concert or Carnatic music concert, and we were forced to listen because we went with someone, something like that. And we were listening and start slowly. We are not, we don't feel like boring. We are not feeling like going now. We are listening it. We are enjoying it. So we think, okay, maybe I like classical music or dramatic music. Let's listen. We will explore more. So, which means we were thinking that we don't like classical music because of some reasons. Some people playing, some people singing, or different reasons. We thought that we don't like classical or dramatic music. But accidentally we happen to listen that, then we identified, okay, I am having a liking towards, okay, we will write. So self-perception, our own perception on ourselves also leads to change in different kind of attitudes. Okay, so that is from self-perception theory. And another one is self-reactance theory, developed proposed by Jacob W. Graham. The Brahms self-reactance or psychological reactance. The actual concept name is psychological reactance. So in the social psychological context, we say that self-reactance theory. So what Brahman says, proposes when the freedom of choice of a person, when the freedom of choice of a person is restricted, they will be motivated to regain that freedom that has been lost or threatened. So our independence movement was a social reactance example. You can take it as a psychological reactance of a country. You can say that. But their freedom of choice was restricted. It was threatened and it was lost. So they motivated to regain that. So a person who was restrained against their will. Yeah. I think Srinivas, can you stop throwing? So that is self-reactance theory and self-perception theory. Clear these two theories? Because simply the theory explains this. There are some examples which are given in a text that we can read. You see? Clear? Any questions?
No,
Sir,
sir.
in self-reactance theory means they develop negative behaviors in that.
No, they don't develop negative behavior. Self-reactance simply means like suppose you are kept captivated, like you someone like your as a parent or a teacher. Some people may identify this easily. You say you will tell this to your child or children to don't do that, and they think that it is actually uh, controlling or restricting their freedom of choice or freedom of acting, and they go against what we say. It's a simple example of psychological reactance or self-reactance state. So, for example, we say that don't engage in romantic relationship when and they feel like okay, everyone is getting into that, and you are restricting or you are threatening my freedom to be in a romantic relationship. So I will show that. So being rebellious, simply in layman term, we can say being rebellious is an example of psychological reactance. So being rebel, they will collect more information to that, and because of they are rebelling against something, they show more affinity to the things that they are rebelling. So if people rebelling for their freedom, they will show more affection towards their freedom. They will talk about their freedom. They will write about their freedom. So simply the rebellious thing. Clear?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Shall we move? Uh, so these are the four theories: Heidel's balance theory, Festinger's cognitive dissonance theory, Bohm's self-perception theory, and Bohm's self-reactance theory. So these are the four theories that we use or we use to analyze or to understand what are the reasons that the attitude of a person changed. If it is changed, mostly we go with cognitive dissonance theory, which have a strong research evidence, which is a lot of research are showing cognitive dissonance theory is proposing the right possible way of attitude change. So now the next chapter we are discussing is measurement of attitude. So we can actually measure human attitude. So measurement of any kind of psychological aspects, whether it is social psychological, aspects like attitude or pure psychological aspects like intelligence or personality. All kind of assessment, measurement, and understanding those how to measure, how to assess, all those things comes under discipline called psychometry. Okay, a particular discipline is existing for that. We call it psychometry. And in that psychometry, we study how to develop psychological measurement or assessment to identify or to measure, to assess certain psychological aspects. And there is something called sociometry. Okay. So sociometry is again it's another form or another discipline comes in the process of assessments. So here we discuss four different kind of attitude measurement, which was developed in the early stages. So among this, we mostly use Likert scale in psychology. You use all the four scales, depends on the need, and there are more methods also. So Bogart's social distance scale, Likert's scale of summated ratings, Thurston's scale of equal appearing interval, Osgood and Tanban semantic differential scale. So we will look into each of the scale. So the first scale, the Bogart's social distance scale, it was developed by Emory S. Bogart in the 1930s. Okay, so remember the time period because it was pre-independence. It was very early. So the intention to develop the scale was to study, to understand ethnic relations, social classes, and social values. And this scale actually measure the attitude about how close or distant people feel towards other people. Simply, you can see that example here. It is a grade, it is coming as a grade. It is okay for people to immigrate to this country. They just have to stick. Okay. Immigrate to this country, immigrate to this town, immigrate and live in the street, immigrate and live next door. So country may be fine, town may be fine. For some people living in the street can be fine. For next door, there will be some issues. Some countries. Okay. So this thing we can add more. It's an example, simply an example. If you want a more detailed attitude gradients, we can add more statements. To this country, it is okay for people to immigrate to the state or from the town. You can talk to the nearby street, the street, the simply the not living next door. We can make some gradients here. So there are different stages we can take. So using this method, so this method is known as Bogart's social distance scale. So this way of we are measuring. So this is one Bogart's social distance scale. So another one is Likert's scale of summated rating. So it is developed by Rensis Likert in 1932. Again, this method of attitude measurement summating responses to a considerable number of statements representative of the attitude in question. So, for example, if you have seen any kind of psychological scales, uh, it's visible.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So here you can see that this is the scale that we use to measure basic psychological need, to understand basic psychological need. Okay. So you can see that it comes like there are a lot of statements. So considerable statement. Don't take the statements that talks about social psychological aspects. So there are different kind of statements, and the person have to tick either one of this. They can't tick multiple. Okay, either one. So one is not at all true, and somewhat true, and very true. In the other case, it will be strongly agree, agree, undecided, disagree, strongly disagree. So people will give first question true, second question very true, third question not at all true. So there will be like this lot of statements. So then we will calculate each of these statements. Clear? So here there is a statement. There is a 10 kind of statement. Do you think that you will accommodate a person, or do you think that do you have a kind of positive attitude to people? Will you smile if they come to you? Some kind of statements, a lot of statement, and each statement is rated with 1 to 5. This is strongly disagree, disagree, undecided, agree, strongly agree. So each questions they will give tick. So they will add. The first one is 5. They are giving the first question 1. Strongly disagree, which means 1. And the second question they have gave agree, which is 4. So 4 plus 1, 5. So it will add. So totally 10. So there will be range. 10 questions, the least range will be 10, and the highest range will be 50. So the total score, if it is coming 49, 48, 45, something like that, it is showing a high thing. If it is coming something 10, 15, something like that, 20, it is showing very low. So that range we will get. So this is Likert scale of summated rating. And then Thurston's scale of equal appearance. Are you clear with these two?
Yes, sir.
No questions. Okay. So the Thurston scale of equal appearing interval. This is this. We using some context. Okay. So this method actually, the method of equal appearing interval, it's a kind of psychophysical technique. Okay. It is a psychophysical means it is coming as a psychological tendency, then it will having a physical manifestation. So psychophysical technique, which happens to be a method of scaling where the subject sorts the stimuli into groups separated by equal steps. So equal appearing intervals here actually there is 1 to 11. This many options are there: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So each options there will be a kind of statements. So the one will be least favorable to the concept, and 11 will be the most favorable to the concept. So the person can take. So it is not a individual thing or individual group of categorizing. It's a single concept, and they will take these two most favorable to the concept, and between they will ask to select which one they are interested. So from that they can by connecting all those things they can understand, or we can understand that what kind of attitude that they are interested in creating. Clear?
Yes, sir.
So the last one is Osgood and Tannenbaum's semantic differential scale. So it is written semantic, sorry, it is semantic. Okay. Semantic means meaningful. Words are semantic. A meaningful word is what we call semantic. So semantic differential. So what they did is, if we go to the definition, the semantic differential measures people's reactions to stimulus words, and concepts in terms of rating in bipolar scales. Bipolar means there will be two poles. Okay, bipolar scaling defined with contrasting adjectives at each end. So here is, for example, please evaluate the last purchase you made at Home Depot and the experience you had at the retail store. Okay, so here is a bipolar, which is two end, but it is unfriendly stuff, friendly stuff. You can put in between. It is about the same thing. Staff not very helpful, staff very helpful. We know that we are familiar with these things in many websites, many app and lot of things. So giving the uh, options in between, we are giving a gradient of our attitude towards a particular uh, institute or ideology or whatever the thing. So that is Osgood and Tannenbaum's semantic differential scale. So these are the first measurements of attitude that we have been discussing. The Bogart social distance scale, Likert scale of summated rating, Thurston scale of equal appearing interval, Osgood and Tannenbaum's semantic differential scale. There,
Yes, sir.
any doubt regarding with those two?
No, sir.
Okay. So we have completed two chapters. I thought we will be taking two chapters, but we have more time. So we'll take a 5 minutes break and we'll come. Okay? Is it fine?
Sure, sir.
Okay, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay, sir. അറിയണ്ട
Hello, sir. Hello, sir. Your voice not clear, sir, actually.
No, right now I'm not taking class. Like we are
Okay,
taking
sir.
a 5 minutes break.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Okay, sorry, sir.
Okay, we'll start. We were in a small break. There is the point. We have a half an hour more. Okay. Is my document visible? Is the document visible? Hello.
Continue, sir.
Okay. Because my chat is not visible to me actually when I am in presentation mode. So if you text me again, I won't be knowing.
Continue, sir.
Okay. Okay. So unit 15 that we are discussing now, it is about interpersonal conflicts. Okay. Interpersonal conflicts that we are discussing next. So interpersonal conflicts. There are different terminologies that we use in psychology as intrapersonal, intrapersonal. Intrapersonal means within oneself. Okay. I am dealing with myself, or I am talking to me, or my emotions towards me, or my conflict with me, or whatever it is, me with myself, that is called intrapersonal. So if there is a person and there is another person, or one more than one person, then there is interpersonal. So interpersonal conflicts, it is a very common thing that we all know. There is two people, obviously there will be some kind of agreements and disagreements, and disagreements will lead to different kind of conflicts. So in anything, not only disagreements, anything can lead to conflicts. So there are three ways that in social psychology that we have looked into conflict. One is traditional view. So traditional view say that conflicts are always negative, and it will always end up in negative consequences such as violence, aggression, destruction, those kind of things. That is what traditional view says. Another one is behavioral view, which doesn't give any kind of value like which is good or bad, negative, positive. But they say that conflicts are natural occurrences that we can't avoid. It's an inevitable process. The best thing is we have to identify what are the things that we can do to change or manage it. So conflicts are always a challenge that make us better. It's a kind of puzzle or a maze or a problem to be solved. That is what behavioral view says. Uh, and another one, the third approach is interactionist view. So interactionist view says that technically the transaction or interaction between two people is the reason behind the conflict. Okay, so if it obviously it is a challenge, it is a problem, it is a obstacle or a maze or puzzle something, but it can't exist for too long. So it should be managed immediately. So conflicts are challenge But if the challenge exists for too long, then there will be some kind of negative impacts. So what we can't come, most of the situation what they're talking about is management. Okay. When we say about stress management or those kind of things, it is basically interactionistic. And in the personal conflict context, we say that minimize the damage and maximize the positive aspects. So that is what interactionist view say. They don't say that is conflicts are always problematic, but existence of conflict for too long will definitely lead to some kind of damage. So these are the three views that we had, the general views that we have regarding with interpersonal conflicts. Traditional view, behavioral view, and interactionist view. So next we will look into types of conflicts. Okay, there are different types of conflicts exist. Affective conflict. So as the name says, you know what affective means emotional aspect. So the emotional, there is something to do with the emotional aspect. So some kind of so conflict is always a unpleasant feeling. Okay, it won't give a pleasure feeling. For some people, it can be pleasure, but mostly as a human Homo sapiens, we need happiness. So the unpleasant or uncomfortable experiences. So any kind of emotional uncomfortability or any such kind of personal things that evoke an uncomfortable emotional responses will lead to conflict. So that is affective conflict, which is emotional aspect. Then substantive conflict. It is mostly comes with the disagreements between partners or colleagues or working together in a group or something that how much effort they did and the other person did, or how much we did, they didn't. It's all about the performance and the task, performance of a certain task, substantive conflict. So that accountability, mostly the accountability of task comes in between the partners. So that is another one conflict. Then there is relationship related conflict. Again, it's mostly comes with the interpersonal romantic relationship or social conflict. It can be the class, caste kind of conflict. So relationship related, social, emotional, or interpersonal disagreements. So that is relationship related conflict. So there are when we see, it may be overlapping, but it is not. It is categorized in such a way. Okay. So the fourth one is task related conflict. So the substantive conflicts. So the substantive conflict is about the performance. So here it will be more about giving a task and how the ability to do it. So more than completing it, it has to start with before completion. It start with the that giving of a particular task. Okay. Then another one is functional conflict. So again, functional conflict comes when in a group, a common goal or something will be there, and if anyone's performance is affecting or anyone's functioning is affecting the attaining of the common goal, then there will be a conflict erupts because it is that the functionality of the group is getting disrupted, so that someone is not actually going with the function they are supposed to be. Okay. So another one is dysfunctional conflict. So again, the dysfunctional activities that is happening in the group can be disagreements, dispute, concerns, okay, that hinder the group performance. Some activities that is happening within the group, dysfunctional behavioral patterns that is happening within the group. So that is dysfunctional conflict. So these are the different types of conflicts. But if you take other social psychology books or recent updates also, you may see more conflict patterns. Okay, in interpersonal conflicts, in interpersonal relationships, there are different and more types of conflicts exist. Okay. So what can be the causes of conflict again?
So
Well,
can you please help me with functional conflict and dysfunctional conflict once?
So here the functional conflict actually says, if you are taking a group, okay, a group work, a team work in a company, a group is set up for a project, and the whole group's goal is to complete that project in a successful way. So every group members have their own role to do that. Okay, so that functionality helps them to reach the goal. So if someone get if some kind of behavior, it not be disagreements or dispute between the teammates, something that impact, okay, something that impact for a person is coming late, okay, a person is coming late, something like that, so that will affect that functionality of dealing that problem. So the conflict is arising because there will be an disruption in the functional aspects. In the dysfunctional conflict, it mostly happens in the group performance. There will be a dysfunctional group performance. So it is a activity between two people. Some people can having a disagreements among for that particular goal or some other things, which will hinder the performance, overall performance. So in that way also, dysfunctional behavior can take the conflict form.
Thank you, sir.
Clear? Anyone else? Anyone have any doubt related with any of this? Because these different types of conflicts, it looks overlapping, sometimes similar, same, but not. It have differences which is same. For example, substantive conflict and task related look same, but that one is mostly about the task they have done. It's more about accountability. A task related mostly about assigning the task and related with such things. Okay. So the causes of conflict we are looking. First one, obviously, always it is pure communication. Poor communication. The communication is not clear. Rumors can be happened. Miscommunications can be happened. Some information can be omitted. Some information can be added, which is unnecessarily over information. So poor communication is one major cause of conflict. Second one is perceived differences. Okay. If two people, if we are taking, for example, if we are taking two people and they perceive themselves as completely different, so there won't be a fighting or aggression or violence or nothing like that, but that internally there will be a conflict, kind of some things will be there that group behavior. Humans always have a group behavior. Okay, so if, for example, if we take all south part of Indian people from Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Andhra, Kannada, Telangana, Karnataka, and all those things, and it's a big group, and if we scatter them together, they somehow group together according to the linguistic thing or as a profession, something in some way they find something because perceived similarity is existing, which means perceived difference are making them going away. So in a two people communication, interpersonal conflict. So the perceived differences between the ideologies, taste, interest, anything. So such differences create conflict. Our struggle, very important, who will control another person, or if someone is controlling us, if someone is dominating. So that power struggle, for example, in our traditional, not traditional, like the patriarchal system, in our patriarchal society, always male partner is dominant and female partner is being down or submissive kind of in our patriarchal family system, not only in India, in all over the world. But that is actually a power struggle. Both people are partners. So both of them have equal space, freedom, everything. But one person is dominating. In other way, if it can be go in other way. So the power struggle between two people that can go leads to conflict. Allocation of resources and privileges. So again, here allocation of resources and privileges, when we say don't have to look in a bigger national context, we can take in a small family context also. Okay, if one child given more resources, more freedom, lot of things, and the other person is not getting that kind of recognition and resources, then there will be conflict. So allocation of resources. Resources can be love. Love is a resource. Attention is a resource in psychological way. Don't go in economical or such way. We are talking about psychology. So attention, appreciating, or any kind of reward. So those things are resources. Okay. So allocation of resources and privileges that will create a kind of conflict. And then conflicts over values, value system, ideology, our views, attitudes, moral concepts. So conflicts, there can be conflicts over the value systems. Okay. Till this clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So next we will look how can we, so we call solving, we say solving the conflict, we call it a resolution. Okay. It's always a solution, terminology that we use. is resolution of conflict. Then we don't simply say resolving. We say resolution, patch up, whatever it is resolution of conflict. So not every conflict can be taken into the resolution context, and not we can't demand a solution for all conflicts. That is also important. Just because we have different kind of techniques or methods for resolution of conflicts, that doesn't mean this method will work in all contexts. So we will be looking into the different process. There is process of resolution of any kind of conflicts. To some extent, this procedure works, this method works. So obviously, understand the cause of the conflict. It's one, understand the cause of the conflict, not the conflict. Obviously, conflict maybe they're arguing each other or fighting or using abusive words. We don't look at that. Those are glamorous things. We look back, we look behind. What is the reason? What is the cause behind this? And we take the proper cause, not just rumors. We need the proper verified information. Just understand the cause of the conflict. Second, understand the intensity of the problem. Okay, we should know how intense. If it is very sensitive kind of things, obviously we can't directly involve in that. So we should look at the sensitivity, how much it is intense. Are we invited? Such things are there. Okay, a lot of things. And the intensities of the problem we have to identify and we have to understand, and that is there. And strategy. Select a strategy for the resolution. Okay. So there are 4 different kind of strategies. So one is collaboration, which we also say win-win. So it is like if the context of the conflict is giving a possibility of alternative of compromising them, and we can benefit both of them in a certain possibility. So we take the possibility of collaboration that we call win-win. That is one strategy for the solution. The another one is domination, which is we call win-lose. That one of the conflicting party, they will try to their solution or their alternative into the other party. It's a forceful way of solution, domination. The 2 parties are in a conflict, and the one party will force their solution or alternative on the other party. That method of resolution is domination. And another one is, fourth one is accommodation. The accommodation is lose win. Okay. So lose win in this context, we accept, okay, the problem was with our part. So technically we are losing, but in the long run, we are gaining something. Okay. So lose and win. So we will call accommodation. We accommodate the other party's views, and we say that, okay, I agree with what you're saying, because in the long run, what the person proposed is better. So we are losing, but it's a kind of winning also. The another one is avoidance. Lose dose. Not at all, not mostly recommended. Completely cutting all the ties. It's like completely avoiding removing. Okay, this doesn't go much. So collaboration and accommodation is mostly a healthy way of resolution, and domination and avoidance. In the long run, it will be backfire, because domination, which means we are restricting or we are taking the freedom of their expression. So using the power, but in certain situations that may be needed. For in school or college or in any other kind of institutional settings, sometimes domination may be needed, avoidance sometimes. So collaboration, domination, accommodation, avoidance. So these are the 4 strategies that we can adopt for the resolution of any kind of conflict. So clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we have finished interpersonal conflicts. We have finished 3 units: theories of attitude change, measurement of attitude, and interpersonal conflict. And prejudice and discrimination is there. It's a big chapter. If we are starting now, you won't be able to finish. Prejudice and discrimination. Then aggression, it's already done by Janardhan sir. And then there is group. There are a couple of other chapters we will see. Any questions related with the 3 portions that we have discussed? Any questions? Any doubt?
Sir, in practicality, if you have to resolve a conflict, so do you actually go with the strategy in mind, or
No.
you eventually end up with this?
See, actually, we said that now we will go to the first 3 thing. We have to understand the cause behind the conflict. So we will look whether that particular conflict that is under our capacity.
Okay.
So first of all, so even as a psychologist, when we are dealing with interpersonal conflict, for example, conflict between friends, a child is coming and the person is having interpersonal conflict in school, like having a problem with children. So that is, which is not a big, so it doesn't have a big social impact in their reality, in their context. Conflict between children. So that context is, we can somewhat easily deal with certain kind of methods. Okay. But if it is a abusive relationship, then it will need higher applications or different methods. It will involve other people also. So we have to identify the intensity and the cause behind the problem, and these 4 strategies, we have different. For example, collaboration we use that in individual case and in group settings also. we do there are in individual cases we use psychotherapy or counseling techniques. In counseling technique also we use collaborative methods, accommodative method. But in social settings, we can see that resolution conflict are resolved. The resolution is happening in 4 different ways. Usually, not we should do, Not always. We also do that. We have as a psychologist, we have techniques and methods which is evidence based, which is after a lot of research and practices. There are methods that it is legally or ethically that we can use. But the four methods that we saw here is that these are the four common ways that we can approach a conflict. One is collaboration, one is accommodation, another one is domination, and avoidance. So this is the four different way that we can approach. We can decide. We will decide later. We don't go with the score action. We will understand the problem and we'll go into the intensity. We will check the context, the person involved in the problem, people involved in the problem, and the environment, and all those aspects. And then we go with any of these methods. Either we will say that some people, if it is an abusive relationship, it's an avoidance. Just lose, leave completely. If it is some kind of communication problems or something, we will take collaboration or accommodation. That will say that, yeah, if this person has this kind of issue, but it's not a grave, big issue, trivial thing. Something like that. Accommodation, collaboration also can be happen. But domination mostly done in other contexts. It not always happens with the peer group or partners, but in some contexts they can use dominance also. So depends. Yeah.
Sure. Thank you, sir.
Professor,
Yes.
now can we call this the what is that Ukraine and Russia war as a conflict?
Obviously, it's a conflict, but it's a national, international, transnational conflict. We can say something like that. So it won't come under the. It will come under the radar of psychology only if we are taking the psychological aspects, social psychological patterns. But yeah, it is a conflict. It is a conflict. Obviously, it is a conflict.
But the
It
basic
might be under a socio-economic conflict also.
Yeah, obviously, it can be a socio-political. Mostly, it is a political one.
no, basically the principles involved and the factors at play are same.
Yeah, obviously, but we are looking into the psychological aspects
only.
Yeah, we look into as a human. When we look at human behavior between two people, when we take two people, always keep the reference within the human behavior, because we can find the same example with the social life, because humans, all, whether it is political aspect or social aspects, cultural, economic, anything, is the byproduct of human action. Okay.
Always.
Human behavior. It's always the byproduct of human behavior. So definitely it will have the shadows of a larger shadow of human behavior. Definitely. But we are now understanding the psychological, which means the human, individual aspect. Okay. Between two people's conflict between boyfriend, girlfriend, wife, husband, anyone, friends, teacher, student, boss, employee. Any more?
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Family counseling based on this conflict we can do, no? Why?
Not
Because
only this, because this is one approach. In family conflict, actually it is a big area. There are more theories and more approaches, more detailed concepts are there. So this is mostly we'll go with the general social behavior. It can be anything, but when we go with specifically family, specifically something, then we have to look into those aspects, that is different areas.
And criminal psychology, criminal conflicts also different area?
No. That is completely different. That is comes with law and order, and also it's coming with psychopathology and medical legal aspects. All those things come. But it involves social psychological theories also.
Crime will be happen due to conflict between two persons. Then crime will be happen. So that's what
Obviously,
I'm asking.
we will, when we search for psychological conflict, we will look the social psychological aspects also. We will say that this person was from a very low socioeconomic aspect, and the other person was from high economic status, and this person felt a kind of grudge towards that person, so he hit him. So technically, it is an attitude problem, some kind of interpersonal conflict. So if we go behind the motive of the behavior, we can see the psychological aspects.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, sir.
So our time is over. Tomorrow the class will be taken by Janardhan sir, and that is sir informed me. And there are a lot of portions that we have to finish. We will see what we can done with the thing. So okay, hopefully we will see later.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.